And welcome everybody to another edition of Clear Vision with EGlaze. I am your co-host and host. I'm so used to the crush, I say co-host so much. I gotta say host now. Host EGlaze, and I am bringing to the stage somebody who I've known for, Pam, we've known each other for over a decade
At
now.
least
That's
a decade.
crazy.
Yeah.
At least. She is someone, Dr. Pamela Larde. I never say your last name a lot. I just be Pam or Dr. Pam. But
Yeah,
the
but you
correct
just
way
said
to
it
say your
right.
name
Yeah, you just
is
said it, Lardy.
Larde. That's what I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
She's someone who impacts leaders. She's in organizations and communities around the world. She's a teacher, but her thing now, and I love it to death. She's the joy whisperer. Yes, and she is a social scientist, coach, author, business owner, mother, whose mission centers on helping people lead with heart, resilience, and purpose. Please, everybody, help welcome my guest this show, Dr. Pamela Larde. How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Good. You too. You too.
Yeah.
Let's start with this.
Okay.
Break down the joy whisperer. I've seen you. I've seen it. I think I understand it, but I want you to put it in the words that you put it in for the people
Yeah.
out there.
Well, I have met since the last time we saw each other. Probably, well, I know exactly when I started, December of 2019.
Mhm.
I really began to dive into the practice and the science of joy. And that is primarily because my research up to then was about how people overcome hardship, whether it's
Mhm.
heartbreak or they want to be the first in their family to go to college, or they're overcoming trauma after war, after divorce, all kinds of things. So, the common thread was everybody, was overcoming something. But people kept asking me, but what's the common thread between military folks, college students, people who've had divorce? Like these are all kinds of different people. So I really sat down and thought about what is it that I want to study at the intersection of all of these people. And it it landed on me hard December 2019. Joy, all of these people are trying to find their joy. And then 3 months later, the whole world shuts down. And so now
Mm.
I get to study war, study joy, which is, it's a form of war,
It can
actually.
be part. It can be a part.
But I then got to study joy from the lens of how are people surviving, literally, psychologically,
Mm.
connection wise, how are we surviving through this pandemic? And
Mm.
that's where I first got to really observe how joy was happening. And ever since then, it has definitely been, I've written a couple of books about it since then,
Mhm.
and it's really just become my central focus in terms of research.
What's the biggest thing that you've seen contributes to a lack of joy of a lot of people?
Mm. There's certain barriers to joy that
Mhm.
people, we may not even be aware, but that people might impose on us or that we impose on ourselves. And one of them that stands out the most, I was just having a conversation with one of my friends about this, who was laid off from her job,
Mm. Mhm.
and this was a job that was stressing her like crazy. And she's like, why do I feel joyful now that I got laid off? And she's like, I should feel really guilty about that.
Right.
Like I
Right. Right.
shouldn't be joyful. But I explained to her that the joy is probably coming from the opportunity to replenish your well-being, because one of the foundations for joy is well-being. But our guilt tells us, no, I'm supposed to want a job. I'm supposed to be afraid that now I don't have a job and I'm not being responsible because I'm not getting the income to pay the bills. And that's where the guilt creeps in, because
Mhm.
it's like, maybe I shouldn't be feeling this joy. But the reality is, you feel what you feel because you've just freed yourself, or you've just been freed from a situation that was stifling your well being. And you really can't get to that next great thing if you release yourself or if you are released from it. So, one of the things is that we keep ourselves in situations that diminish our joy out of guilt,
Mhm.
out of shaming for people, well, how dare you express joy when there's people on the other side of the world suffering? That was a big one during COVID. There were a lot of people at odds about whether or
Mhm.
not we should be exercising our joy during such difficult times when death rates were high and there was a lot of uncertainty. Absolutely, that's an awkward time to express joy. But when we finally release ourselves to do it and realize that, you know what, releasing myself to experience joy is going to release it for somebody else who might be struggling and suffering and needs to see that there is potential for joy. It gives people hope. So I think that guilt and that shame are probably the top two ways that we stifle our joy.
Yeah, it's very strong because a lot of people, going back to your statement about your friend about who hold on to things thinking that this is what, I guess this leads into my next question. How many times have you found that what we hold on to is not what we want to, but what we feel like society and everything else wants us to hold on to? Like you said, maybe we shouldn't feel joy because people across the world are suffering, or we hope we don't have that benefits of this job and it doesn't feel right. But how
Right.
many times is joy more external than internal, or lack
Mm.
of joy,
The
vice
lack of joy,
versa?
more external than internal. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll use Black men as an example. So one of the things
Mhm.
that came in strong during COVID was Black men frolicking hashtag. Do you remember that? Did you see
Mm.
that?
Yeah, I did see
So,
that.
so there was a hashtag called Black Men Frolicking. And what I loved about that and why it was so powerful is because it gave men permission, Black men in particular, permission to frolic. And why
Yeah,
would Black men need permission to frolic?
it's crazy.
Be-
Yeah, yeah.
because the world tells you you're not supposed to go skip along in the grass. Are
Mm-mm.
you crazy? That's not
Just running
man.
out. That was a great time. It was a great time. I kind
Yes,
of did it without the cameras, but I did it
I
myself.
love it. And I witnessed Black men doing it without the cameras. They're like, I ain't gonna film it, but let me go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
I love it. But that's one of the perfect examples of somebody holding back because of what society has said. And then what happens when you're released, when somebody's joy releases other people to experience that joy, because somebody had to do it first.
Yeah.
Some Black man had to decide first, you know what? I'm going to frolic today and I'll
Just
put it
gonna
on
do it. Right, right, right.
camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when it comes to finding your joy, one thing I've known about you is, since we've known each other, you haven't been afraid to try and grow. And I don't want to say try different things, but grow into different areas. I think people sometimes always want to say, man, she's always trying something else, but people don't understand life. I didn't know at 41 years old I'd be doing stuff like this. I
Yeah.
was focused on coaching and football, but now I'm into a different realm. Growing and finding joy in different things for yourself. How do you feel about that? Because if y'all don't know, somebody made a football team last year, and it's not this side, on this side of the camera, there's on the other side. But just continuing to find that joy for yourself. How do you continue just to not allow yourself to be limited? I guess
Yeah.
that's a good way.
I mean, if I had asked permission, hey, you guys, you think I should go out for this football team?
Yeah.
Most people would have said, do you know that you're 47? I'm not 47 now, but I was 47 when I tried out last year.
Yeah.
And, so I saw this thing go across my timeline. I went to college with the person who owns and founded the league. And
Okay.
we didn't know each other in college, but we connected on LinkedIn years later. And I saw her post that said, come out for National Tryout Day. And I was like, wait a minute. So anybody can just go out there?
Right. Right.
And
Right.
I'm pretty hard-headed maybe. I just, I'm gonna try because why not? And I used to be an athlete sort of on the trajectory. I played college softball. I
Mhm.
qualified to try out for the US Olympic team in 96. And it kind of my career came to a halt. I became a mom and I dove into my career and all of the things started happening. So I am at the tail end of raising children. I just became an empty nester. And I had always told myself, after this when this empty nester phase starts, I'm going to compete again. I thought it was going to be tennis because I used to play tennis as well.
Yeah.
The football came across my timeline.
Wow.
I'm minding my
Yeah.
own business, and so I just had to do it. So I went out there, and all I had been doing is running up to then. I hadn't been doing any real conditioning or
Right.
lifting or
Right.
anything, just running every day. So at least I was able to hang in that sense. And it was one of the toughest days I've had in a very long time physically. I mean, I came home and I did a video of this on TikTok of I just couldn't even lift my legs.
It's a
And
whole
I was
different.
like, well, that was fun. I got to do that. And I can always say
Yeah,
that I went and tried out. And the next day I get a call. Congratulations. You
yeah,
made the team. And we're talking full contact, tackle
yeah. This is
pads,
yeah,
um,
head to toe.
head to toe, professional National Women's League. So,
Yeah.
so much, I mean, in the WNFC, and we, have been recognized. I think Detroit Lions last year presented
Mhm.
us with a donation during their halftime show. It's the real deal. And
Yeah.
I can't believe I stepped out there. So I think your question, I'm not sure what your question was, but this is how I do it. I'll step into something
Yeah.
that I'm not quite sure, and I'll just do it one step at a time, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, that's perfect because a lot of people, it's amazing when you say, why not? You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, we get so afraid to say, why should I, instead of saying, why not sometimes. It's
Those are
amazing. Because I looked at it myself, I'm like, Pam do know there's a different type of working out, though, right? Football on any level is different.
There's
It's working
pickleball,
out.
you know. And I'm gonna get into pickleball at some point too, but
Yeah, that's the
we get
next one. That's the next one. That's the next one. You talk about, and part of your joy is joy resilience. And I
Mhm.
want to talk about that too. And for people who are going through hard seasons, what does that look like in practice? I would
Yeah.
say.
Well, I think this is what distinguishes joy from happiness, because the resilience is it basically it's I guess telling us that there are times when we have to experience joy during hardship.
Mm,
We've had a hard time. We've gone through a stint. I will say 2025 has been a year of financial hardship,
mhm.
with things disappearing, financial streams of income disappearing as
Yeah,
government entities are targeted,
yeah.
and it just very dramatic change financially. And so I've had to experience an extraordinary, not just me, but had to experience an extraordinary amount of joy resilience pushing through the storm. And we have examples of this in our history when we've gone through much greater challenges with,
Absolutely.
enslavement, civil rights movement, Jim Crow, and some of those things still carrying on, into today, brutality, police brutality, so many things that are happening. I'm talking about stuff that's just happened along my lineage. Now we're seeing things happen with immigration that's attacking a particular demographic of people. And how do people find joy in times like this that can be really scary? And it's almost as if you get to choose. Do I want to go through this really scary time,
Mhm.
downtrodden, hopeless, sad, or do I want to steal moments that energize me when I can?
Mm, mm.
And if I can steal moments that energize me when I can, that might energize me enough to get through this mess.
Right.
And that is exactly how our descendants got through the times that they were in. The joy is no soft thing.
Mhm.
When we look at, I think a really interesting common example of how people are using joy, and that's what I said, sometimes joy is war, but how people are using joy to push back against some of the things that are happening in this country. And it looks kind of silly on the surface, and our ancestors really didn't do it this way, but in Portland, when there was, when ICE was cracking down there, and
Mhm.
people were putting on Teletubby uniform or costumes and different kinds of
Sure.
costumes and
Sure.
dancing in front of and handing them roses or
Yeah.
singing to the ICE officers. And so their strategy for combat was, we're gonna kill them with joy. We're
Yeah.
gonna inundate them with joy so that they cannot have a reason to pummel us. And if they do, the optics are going to show them pummeling a group of people that are wearing joyful
Totally.
costumes and singing to them, handing them flowers.
Yeah.
So, it's something that people have used as a source of resilience throughout history. And and I'm going to own it. I'm seeing people borrow from our ancestors.
Yeah.
We didn't put on costumes and stuff, but we certainly found ways to
Yes,
express
we did.
joy through the pain.
Yeah, whether it was through music or
Yeah.
dance or whatever we did.
Yes.
So I tell everybody, if you watch Sinners, you can see the
Yes.
resilience in that movie because of that
Mm.
movement. The one thing that you've done also is the coaching aspect. You do, the coaching and things of that nature. So let me ask you what do you believe people misunderstand about coaching as a profession, and what have you learned yourself in doing this for people and growing in that particular field?
I have to thank people like Ian Van Zandt for the misconceptions people have about coaching.
Right,
Because,
right, right, right,
she
right.
had a great show, Fix My Life. And I
Yeah,
think it was very entertaining. It drew you in to people's situations, and her hardcore, in your face, you're going to get it together, and blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
right, right, right,
Great entertainment. But that's not what coaching is. And
right.
it was in the name of coaching. And so we have sort of these different presentations of what coaching is and what it looks like in the entertainment space. That doesn't really, not until you get into the educational space where you get coach training and you're under accredited programs and you go
Mm,
through certification and credentialing, do you really
right.
understand what coaching is. And so what coaching is not is pointing at people and telling them what to do. And I saw a therapist whose work I really admire on Instagram, who was basically saying that let's not get coaching mixed up with therapy, which I think is really important. But her definition of coaching was what Iyanla Van Zandt does. And I'm like, so she doesn't have it right either.
Yes, she's
Um,
missing it.
yeah, so coaching is essentially, so I like to use the analogy of sports. So when you are a basketball team, we'll go with that. So you're um, coaching a basketball team. Before the game, you have strategy, you've got players who are going to be in certain
Mm,
places. You all have designed plays. Sometimes the coach designs them, but in a best coaching situation, players are involved in that conversation, and it's kind of like, who are the best people to be put in place for certain plays. And that's one of the things that I learned on the football team. Oh my God, there's so many plays when it comes to football. It's different than when you're spectating. You don't have to worry
so
about all that when you're spectating.
so many. Yeah.
But there are constant conversations. There are chalk talks. There are so many moments of strategy that's happening before the game. So you're getting mentally prepared. And when you are out there I'm going back to basketball, on the court, it's up to you to make those decisions while you're on the court. You've already strategized, you came up with game plans. And the difference between athletic coaching and professional or life coaching or, executive coaching is that the coach doesn't always design all the plays. It's
Mm,
the player that says, well, here's what I think needs to happen. So when you're on the basketball court, you're point guard or you're whatever you are, it's up to you. The coach can't go out there and throw the ball for you. The coach can't do any of that. So you are, as the player, out there making the decisions, doing the calls, and then you come back to the coach at halftime or when you're, taking a break for more strategy. Okay, that went really well. So let's talk about what can go different, or let's pivot, and so you're back to strategizing with the coach. What the coach doesn't do is if you go up there for a dunk and you land wrong on your ankle or something, the coach can't fix that. Now
yeah.
you're in a place where you have an injury and you need rehab and physical therapy to get back on the court. So the physical therapy is the job of somebody who's skilled in physical repair. Just like a therapist for our mental health is there to help us with mental repair. I'm going to help fix this. A psychiatrist, I'm going to help diagnose you and give you medication to fix this. When you're fixed, then you can get back on the court and the coach can work with you again on strategy. But they can't work with somebody who's broken and injured. That's therapy. So there's
You broke it down. shout out. I've always wanted the difference. Thank you. And you put it in my terms, which is athletics. So
And
if
that's
you
how
look at
I,
it from a
yeah, even the
therapist
coaching
perspective,
school, that's how we
yeah.
define it in the coaching, because I'm an
But the
athlete. So,
therapist helps you work out. If you're a player, a
mhm,
therapist will help remove any blockage you may go and help from going out there and play. Once you
exactly.
decide to play, the coach helps you design what you need to do to become the
Mhm,
best player you can come, and then you makes sense. One
right.
helps get remove blockage. One helps you try to reach your optimal goal. Blah. Thank you, Pam. That's
Yes,
perfect. That's perfect.
exactly.
That's perfect. That's perfect. You know, we call this clear vision with EGlaze because we always focus on the clear vision. And then, you know, when did you have a clear vision that what you're doing is what you wanted to do? When did you have this vision to clear that? I know you just mentioned it earlier in the show about 2019 and going through joy, but not only that, but just where you are right now as Dr. Pamela Larde. When did you have a clear vision that this is what you wanted to do and how you want to affect the people around you and your community?
Mhm. I feel like the question should be, when will I have it clear? It changes so much. I
Right.
think I move in the direction of where I am called or where a gap needs to be filled.
Mm,
And just last night, sometimes I act like a college student. I pulled an all-nighter working on a project, not realizing I already had this strategy in my back pocket that I never really
mm,
utilize. But it's really how about coaches helping people who are experiencing burnout and distress at work to
mm,
decide what their next moves are. And I have this amazing process that I thought, wow, how come I haven't used that? But it is consistently in the headlines right now. These are what people are facing:
right.
uncertainty. And then they're in their jobs because, like, I need this paycheck. I
Right.
need the insurance. I'm a caregiver. I have to be here. So the model walks people through all of those different emotional mindsets of, yeah, because do something better, empower yourself. And that might not be the decision for everybody. So
Right.
when I think about how I have these kinds of things in my back pocket that can address needs that people have, that
Mm,
institutions and organizations have, it confirms for me you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're in alignment with where you're supposed to be. So I do get those kinds of confirmations when I realize that the work I'm doing fills a gap or solves a problem. But in the moment, I don't always know. I'm operating under my strengths. I'm being guided by what gives me life and fills me with joy. But then there's those really hard times, and it's like, is anybody even listening, or does anybody even see this work?
mm,
That you start to question it.
mm,
But then
absolutely.
there's confirmation that comes along the way. Oh, no, somebody really needs this. And somebody will call me and say, I don't know if you understand how much this changed my trajectory. And then you realize, okay, so the work is working.
It's working. It's working. You've written 5 books, if I'm not mistaken. You built programs all around that affects the communities. You probably answered this already, but I'm asking it again in a different way. What are you most proud of
Mm,
that you've done?
most proud of. Um, I don't, I have to say that it's more about my personal life and getting on my own 2 feet after, you know, some really hard life seasons, and not knowing where I'm going to go next, but being bold enough, just like with the football, why not? So why not move across the country? What do I have to lose? And being willing to basically operate under those 2 words, even if I never actually said those 2 words out loud, I definitely behaved in that manner. Um, Coming out of, off the heels of uncertain relationships and not knowing, where am I going to go from here? What am I going to do from here? Um, and again, I feel like my life has just been one step at a time. I know, there's no light after that next step, but just keep stepping. And, I don't, I don't know. I don't know what the formula is. I mean, I really feel like I've moved in the direction that God has led me, but I don't know how to tell people, how do you know it's God? How do you know God's leading you? I don't know. I just know. And there's a knowing. And I just trust that knowing That's scary and that's hard because you don't have the data necessarily. You don't have the map necessarily. You just take that one step, and if your foot lands and doesn't fall through the ice, then you know you made the right step.
Exactly.
That's scary. So I
That
would
is
say that
very.
that's the thing I'm proudest of, is because every phase of my life has come with some really scary transitions. And even starting the coaching academy, that was strategic because I needed a way to get financially sound, to pay for a private school for my son that I think he needed. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I did some math, crunched some numbers. Okay, I'm going to start a coaching academy. And like, who thinks of that? So it's, it's just, instead of, I'm not a naysayer. I'm not a naysayer to other people, and I'm not a naysayer to myself. I'm a yay sayer. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's move forward. Let's try it.
Right. Right.
So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. First, let me ask, how's North Carolina State? How's baby girl doing?
yes, that's another thing I'm very proud of. Yeah, so my daughter is a freshman at NC State, and she is doing really well. She just, she was in distress last week because she might not get all A's. And I'm like, what a blessing. I'm not, I don't want to minimize her struggle. So I'm in my own mind thinking, God, what a blessing. This is her point of stress.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah, but she has very high standards for herself. And I'm really impressed by that. She is, her hope was to go there to run track. And there's so many changes that have been made to NCAA sports and the transfer roster and just roster limits that literally just were in place as she's crossing over into college. So she wasn't aware of those things. So she's trying to figure out a little strategy for how to still get on the team. She ran a track meet this weekend that was just with the club team and PR'd, beat her own records, beat the team's records. And I'm like, keep doing that. Somebody's going to see it.
They'll notice it. They'll
Yeah.
notice it. They'll notice it. Well, Pam, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for doing this. I want them to, I don't think we could have went another hour, but I just want you to let people know a few things. One, where can they find your books? Or
Okay.
what you can mention all of them you want to. You can mention just the latest ones, whatever you want.
Okay.
Two, in the coaching academy. I think that is, you also, it is very important. I want you to be able to talk about it because of what the work you've been doing. Also, one day I'm gonna see if I can get on one of these trips. She does these fantastic trips all the time, and I'm like, she ain't gonna keep holding up drinks on the beach
Yes.
and all of that stuff. So, basically, what I'm saying is plug yourself, Pam, because
Okay.
the work you're doing is fantastic. So I want you to be able to put that out there.
Thank you. Well, I'll start with the last one, the Epic Joy Retreat. That is something I do twice a year in Costa Rica, November.
Listen, which not around the corner. She said Costa Rica, y'all,
Costa
not
Rica.
North Carolina.
It is one of those places that is considered one of the blue zones in the world. I think 6 blue zones in the world. And the blue zone is where people live the longest, have the highest ages in the world. And so they live to be at least 100. And it's sort of a common thing in those particular regions. So one of those regions is located in Costa Rica. So the moment I stepped off the plane for the first time, I just felt life. I was like, whoa, something about this place feels different. So that's one of the reasons why I do the retreats there, but it's the Epic Joy Retreat, male and female co-ed. We've had married couples come, we've had individuals come, we've had best friends go together. And so corporate partners come together. So, but it is a 5-day immersive experience in learning the practice and the science of joy. So that's really awesome. Twice a year, November and July. The next one is the Academy of Creative Coaching. So that's my coach training school, where people all over the world, I'm the first Black female accredited coaching school in the world. And we have people come from everywhere. We're actually in conversations this week about extending to a home base also in South Africa. But we train and certify people to become coaches in a wide range of fields, whether it's relationship coaching, executive coaching. We've had some athletic coaches come through. And because of our name, creative coaching, we've had theater folks, people from every walk of life have really just kind of gone through our program. And the last one is my books. So the last book that I wrote was Joyfully Single was the last full book, but the workbook is also out there, and it's called The Practice of Joy. And both of those books are offered in both a print format. I will say Joyfully Single, if you get a print format, get the hardcover. It does cost more, but it's pretty. It's full color on the inside. Really nice. And then the workbook is also offered as an ebook. But the Joyfully Single book, I just transferred it over to become an interactive audio ebook. So it means that you can flip through, you can listen to me read the book to you, you can click on videos that are in there, you can download the visuals that are in there. I absolutely love it. And I'm going to probably eventually develop that into a course. So those are the two most recent works. The other one is Letters to the Brokenhearted. Joyfully Single is kind of like, I've been single and I'm lean into this life status that I'm in without trying super hard to get out of being single. I mean, eventually, yeah, I might not always be here, but while I'm here, I'm going to enjoy it. Letters to the Brokenhearted is, I'm trying to heal. I've just gotten out of a really devastating breakup or whatever it is. I lost somebody really important to me, and I need to heal. And so depending on where you are on your journey, those two books, I don't know why I've become an expert on breakup and single, but I mean.
Actually, this, and I'm serious about this. Could you see another role for you? I know you got a lot on your plate now, but creating maybe TV or visuals off of your books.
Creating what now?
Like a TV series, because you kind of lead into where you say Letters from a Broken Heart, where you're talking about the part of losing and breaking up. Then you talking about Joyfully Single. It's kind of like it leads into each other. Like it's a repair system of going from one to the next. Because I won't put anything past you. So I'll just, but has that something that you ever thought about maybe creating something like that, a series or something of that nature?
I wouldn't even know how to envision it. I would love to have some kind of genius producer, writer say, this is how I see it being done. But yes, when I wrote Letters to the Brokenhearted, it was right around the time Think Like a Man came out. And so it was kind of like, so Steve Harvey wrote this how-to book and then turned it into a movie, a feature film. So at that time, I certainly was thinking, how could I turn Letters to the Brokenhearted into a feature film? And I really haven't put a lot of energy into thinking about how to do that. I'm sure AI can probably give me some good strategies about how to
Make
do
them
that.
go into each other. So I'm hearing it because it does sound like one went into the next. You talked about the brokenhearted, but then the joyfully part, because people finding relief from brokenheartedness usually just means trying to get over something, but most people don't jump into the joy after it. You know what I'm saying? They don't go capture the joy. They kind of just get over it, but not without moving into that next phase.
And move into the next thing. I think this has been representative of my own journey, which it was never my intention to document my journey the way that these books have. But I wrote Letters to the Brokenhearted shortly after my divorce, and it was part of my own therapy to write a process for how to heal from broken heart. And I was really writing it to myself. And the letters are a series of, dear whoever the reader is, I know you're struggling today. And so, but I was really talking to myself. And then I went through a period of time where I was hopeful and optimistic, like, okay, I've healed, ready for my next great thing in life, marriage, more kids, house, book. I was ready. And 10 years goes by and I'm still single. And I'm like, what the heck? I did all the things. I did the healing things. I did the prayer things. I went to church and declared what I was going to have. And, and so I went through a phase of really being angry. Like, why am I still single? Like, seriously, I was and to the point where I was actually in the house yelling. I know it sounds crazy, but like, seriously, God, like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
And
right.
my pastor sent me a text or called me and said, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Ooh," in the middle
Yeah,
of that
you
moment.
know, let me call my people to reach out to her. Yeah, yeah. Let me go ahead and who she's screaming at. Let me go ahead and get my people to reach out.
Right. So I was like, dang, I got caught.
Yeah,
So
right. Hey, okay, my bad. Right, right,
I,
right.
so I was like, okay, somebody's listening, and I need to figure out how to create joy in this season of my life. Because, like I said earlier, when you're going through your tough seasons, you can either choose to go through it angry, in despair, distressed, or you can choose to go through it in joy. It's a choice. You really do get to
Mhm.
choose. You're
Wow.
there either way.
Either way, you're there is how you accept it. That's well. Also, last thing, where can they find you at? Instagram.
Oh, yes. So my website is drpamelalarde.com. So just as it appears on the screen, drpamelalarde.com. No period after dr. drpamelalarde.com. And then my Instagram is Joy Researcher, and my TikTok is Joy Researcher. So I can be found in both of those places. I'm also on
Uh,
LinkedIn for those who are, a little bit more
the
businessy.
business, this business people. Make sure you get those people in because they like to
Yes.
be included. Pam, as always, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Forgive me as I become sometimes unprofessional around people I know for a while because it's not just, hey, Pam, but Dr. Pamela. Thank you as always. This is great. I think this
You.
is the type of thing we want to uncover here. We've talked before, but I think as you know my story, and as I've grown, I just feel like people have more questions and
Mhm.
more hear from people. We like to we're in a clouded place right now where a lot of people are
Yes.
talking and diving into the same area of life. Like we're watching Netflix documentaries about people, but we're not learning how to grow as people. And
My
things
goodness.
like these and conversation like this is what we need to hear. So I want to thank you so much. Please follow her on everything. I promise you, be one of the best follows, some of the best books, some of the best everything in retreats. Dr.
Thank
Pamela
you.
Larde. And thank you so much. And thank you for listening to the Clear Vision with EGlaze. We appreciate it. We thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.
All right. Peace, everyone.